Welcome to the Awakened Collective, where we explore the topics of love, spiritual consciousness, and our divine purpose on this planet. Join us as we uncover the truth that our thoughts shape our reality. Welcome to the Awakened Collective. I'm Rick Gregory, and it is so good to be with you here this morning. I am just so grateful to be alive today. How about you? And grateful to know that we have never, ever been separated from our source, our creator, by whatever name you choose to call that creator or source. We have never been separated from one another. We are divine extensions of that creator's love on this planet. And, the English language kind of sucks sometimes, but, we say that we are divine extensions of our creator's love. And in the next breath, I can say, I love pizza. The word love. Love is the most powerful thing in the universe. And it was love that saw fit to create us on this planet. And we are therefore from love. We came from love, so we are love. That power of love resides in every one of us. I have been away for a little bit between real estate getting pretty busy this time of year, which is a good thing. And then I had a couple of weeks, like 15 days on antibiotics because of a stomach issue. And life goes on, just experiences. And I want to talk about experiences this morning. Excuse me. I want to talk about our sacred contract and what that means. And I'm just going to repeat what was in my text for the podcast this morning. But what if, I like those two words, what if we chose to be here on this planet at this time? And before we set out on this journey of being an eternal spiritual being in human form, we had a meeting with divine intelligence, God, source, again, by whatever name you choose to call that ground of all being. We had a meeting, and we agreed on where we would be born, to whom we would be born, what areas of spiritual growth we wanted to focus on when we got here, and including the experiences, the very experiences we would have to both aid us in remembering where we came from, who we are, and our divine purpose on the planet. What if? I use those words, what if, because I do not have all the answers. I come across things that I find intriguing, that I contemplate, that resonate as true for me, but I certainly don't have all the answers. I have far more questions than answers. But I think the questions are the fun part. To think about stuff is fun. And by the way, if someone tells you they have all the answers, or better yet, they have all the answers for a price, I would run in the other direction. My goal for this podcast, my desire for this podcast, is simply for you to contemplate the ideas shared. There may be things that you will hear that are completely foreign, and I know how I feel when someone says something that just does not click with me. But I have also found that when I have sat with those things, I begin to see things that perhaps I was closed off to seeing initially. I ask that you'd keep an open mind and at least contemplate the things that you hear today. Perhaps some will be familiar. There are some people out there, I'm sure, that will be like, yeah, I remember hearing something along those lines before. And then there are others who would be like, oh my goodness, that's, old school. That's spiritual evolution 101. And you're well on your way on your journey. And it's all good, no matter where you are. It's the perfect place. We are all evolving in perfect timing, and we are right where we're supposed to be at this moment in time. So I picked up this book, and the way I get my books is, I might find a title of a book in a book that I'm finding absolutely wonderful. The author refers to another book, and I will get that book. In this particular case, I was sharing a post with a friend, and she said, that sounds a lot like an author I have read, named Caroline Mays, and it's actually Myss, but I heard Oprah pronounce it, so I think it's Mays. This is the book, one of her books called Sacred Contracts. It is really eye-opening. It's awakening your divine potential. And I want to read a little bit from this book to get started. And I printed it out so I don't have to bury my face in her book as I read it. But it goes like this. We all want to know why we're here. What is our mission in life? Those people who know it are easy to spot. Their lives shine with meaning. Their perception of their life's purpose gives them the strength to live through the rough times as well as to enjoy the good. Many people, however, are confused or completely in the dark about their reason for living. Through my years as a medical intuitive, someone who can read a person's internal physiological condition intuitively rather than by physical examination and diagnosis, I have frequently been asked, why am I sick and how can I heal? Even more often and more insistently, I'm asked, why am I here? What is my real purpose? What should I be doing with my life? This lack of self-understanding and direction is a health problem itself, in a sense, for it can lead to all sorts of emotional stress, including depression, anxiety, and fatigue. And when these stresses or negative emotions become entrenched, they can contribute to the development of an illness. It's not only your mind that wants to know your mission, this knowledge is vitally important to your body and spirit as well. A confused or directionless life has other consequences. Lack of knowledge of your mission can become a destructive force in your relationships. Without self-understanding, without aim, we can hurt others around us as well as ourselves if we don't have a clear sense of how to see the bigger picture when things go wrong. We are not able to respond appropriately to events or people. A man named Philip once told me that he would probably still be happily married if he had not had a better sense of what he should be doing and where he belonged. He had been frustrated for years, and his chronic discontent took such a toll on his wife that she finally left him. Even after his divorce, however, Philip was unable to make the kinds of changes in his life and career that he needed to make. The problem with change, Philip told me, is that one change is never enough. Once the process starts, you can't stop it. He is right, of course. And yet, as the renowned Jungian psychologist James Hillman once said, you have to give up the life you have to get the life that's waiting for you. If Philip could have seen where he was going, he would have been able to act more appropriately. He would not have been so self-involved, and he and his wife would both have been better off, but he could not find a way to get himself on track. After helping people find and use their inner compass for more than 17 years, I have come to believe that this absence of spiritual and emotional orientation has become epidemic. Besides being a personal problem for many people, it is also a global concern. From a cosmically practical point of view, what good is it to the universe to have a planet filled with souls who have no idea whatsoever why they are here or what they're supposed to be doing? When people ask me how they could fix or heal their lives, how they could find the right direction in which to head, I often would direct them to pray for guidance. But as valuable as prayer is, I wondered if there was not some other definite way or process by which they could bring clarity to their lives and find their purpose. No one can see everything in advance, of course. But if we had a way of looking at the symbolic meaning of our experiences, we would be more prepared to face and accommodate the inevitable changes. Rather than fight change and build up emotional scar tissue, we would be able to choose to see events in a different light, accept the changes, and get on with our lives. Given the personal and global significance of knowing our mission, why has it been so difficult to find out what it is? How can we best search and inquire? Why do some people find their mission early while others struggle for a clue? How can we get better at figuring it out? For our own good, each of us needs to learn what our mission is because the details of how we live our lives accumulate to create health or illness. As I discovered after conducting more than 8,000 medical intuitive readings in those 17 years, I like this. Our biography becomes our biology. In other words, the little troubles and major traumas that we go through take up residence and live in our bodies and affect or block our energy. So it stands to reason that the further we stray from our true mission in life, the more frustrated we will become and the more out of sync our energy will be. By coming to know your mission, you can live your life in a way that makes best use of your energy. When you're working well with your energy, you're also making the best expression of your personal power. And I call this living in accord with your sacred contract. Again, that's Sacred Contract by Caroline Myss, Myss. I will put a link to this book in the comments on my Facebook page. You know, it is a freaking miracle to be born as a human, let alone to be a human and to seek truth, and let alone then to find some amount of truth and see your lives transform. I imagine in my head, that the ether, the spiritual realm, is filled with these divine spirits waiting in line to have a human experience, or perhaps another human experience. I mean, living in human form on this planet is all about experience. We can't get that experience in the spiritual realm of infinite unconditional love. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, but those experiences that we need that lead us to spiritual growth are not found in a place where there is nothing but unconditional love. Those experiences that lead to awakening and remembering and transformation happen here on this planet. In the spirit realm, or the ether, if you will, there's no one, for example, cutting you off in traffic. There's no crises needing to be dealt with, no parental relationship issues, no marital relationship issues, no parent-child relationship issues, no work relationship issues. There are no catastrophes, no sickness, no death, no time or space, just pure, unconditional love. And therefore, no experiential opportunity for the evolution of spiritual consciousness. That's what our experience on earth is for, and why I believe it is a miracle to get to be born a human being. A human being capable of seeking truth, of being conscious, self-aware. And I like how Alan Watts puts it. He says, a human with front row seats to this divine theater. And Alan also goes on to say that you are a function of what the whole universe is doing, in the same way that a wave is a function of what the whole ocean is doing. Being human means becoming aware of this dance or divine play, where we momentarily forget we are the one, so we can experience the joy of remembering it again. The miracle lies in being able to ask who we are at all. Have you asked that question? We are one with every living thing. Yet, this human level of consciousness allows for things like self-inquiry, self-awareness, and moral choices, unlike plants and vegetation, trees and animals that are also all living things with which we are one. I mean, my dogs, they aren't asking who they are or doing any self-examination. I kind of like that about them because I see clearly how they stay in the moment all the time, never worried about what happened yesterday or even thinking about tomorrow. So they do speak truth to me and give me some lessons as well. But we have the gift of being able to choose how we perceive the events of our lives. We get the choice, whether we see them as happening for us and helping us, or choosing to see them as happening to us and harming us. So, what experiences in your life can you honestly say did not seem to be happening for you, but rather to you, harming you at the time? That perhaps hindsight is 2020, perhaps being a little bit removed from those experiences, you now see them differently. That perhaps you now see them as playing a part in who you have become today, in your spiritual growth and personal growth. Are you the same person today that you were 10, 20, 30 years ago? Would there have been any growth resulting in you seeing that change if it were not for difficult experiences or what we would perceive as difficult experiences? It's those experiences that lead us to look inward. And if we are willing to recontextualize them, to see them through a clearer lens, and see how they've actually helped us to move forward. Did you choose those experiences? Something to contemplate. Did you choose them so that you could be where you are today, perceiving your life and the world like you do in this moment? You might say, perhaps I chose to be here on this planet, perhaps, at this time in history. But I know I wouldn't have chosen my mother or my father, who were so hurtful in so many ways. I wouldn't have chosen that boss. I wouldn't have gotten involved in that religion. I wouldn't have chosen that wife or that husband. Really? Sit with that and think about it. Just contemplate it. Is it not perhaps the parent who told you that you would amount to nothing that caused you to say, perhaps in a non-spiritual way, I'll show that bitch? That set a determination in you to make life decisions that put you on a path to that achievement that you see today. And then it really wasn't just to prove a point, that the experience that you had with that parent served a higher purpose. I remember my dad one time. My dad was very mechanically inclined. He was an electrician, very foreign to me. I was more into woods and music and things like that. But one time he asked me to help him. He was doing something on his car and he needed some help and to hold the flashlight because it was nighttime. And then he handed me a wrench and he asked me to hand him the wrench and I dropped it. And it went down into, again, I don't know engines, but down into a place that was going to be very difficult to get. And he turned to me and said, Rick, you are as useless as the balls on a brass monkey. Those things, if we do not have a lens through which to see those, just as Caroline said, they go in and they stick and they begin to shape our self-concept. And of course, I had decades of shame that I dealt with. I see it all differently today. Because as I read in Caroline's book, when we don't remember what our purpose or mission is, it affects us. We get off track. And like in AA, we talk about being on or off the spiritual beam, and we can get off track when we begin to think that the day-to-day grind, the 9 to 5, the working, the raising a family, shopping, cooking, eating, bathing, laundry, entertainment, sleeping, rinse, repeat, etc., is all that there is to this life. It's no wonder that we become spiritually, emotionally, and physically ill. Over time, that happens because our joy, that resonant inner joy, and ultimately our well-being comes from being on our chosen path. And how can we be on any kind of chosen path if we don't remember why we are here or that we have a path to even be on. But living in our purpose is what brings us the greatest joy. I know you felt it, primarily because it has an element of serving others. And when we serve others, what we give out and what we extend, it all comes back to us. And that purpose, that mission has been calling to us all along from the depths of our being, but we have pushed it aside due to societal demands and schedules and commitments and conditioning, opinions of others, you name it. We have adopted thinking and associated emotions, because there's always emotions with our thinking over time, that has blocked us off from seeing our purpose. And those little things like that comment my dad made, and that's just one of many things, and I'm sure the same is true for you. It gets collected. It's like sludge. It gets collected and it blocks us off from the truth that's always, always been within us. I read a book several years ago called Start With Why, and it was written by a man named Simon Sinek, Sinek. I was also involved in this entrepreneurial course or journey that had us look at all the events of our lives, go way back, all the way back as far as we could, and look at every event in our life that brought about great joy, where we truly felt connection and joy. And then ask ourselves, where was it? Who was there? What were we doing? And how exactly did we feel? And then begin to see a pattern of what all along has brought us the greatest joy in our lives. This is what helps to awaken us to our purpose. For what moves you, what you are passionate about, what brings you the greatest inner joy is the key to remembering your purpose, your mission, and as Caroline puts it, your contract. My earliest memory was a birthday party. I was 4 years old, and I know that I was 4 because of where we were living, because we moved in my 4th year of life to a different town, and it was in this original town that I had this memory. I was invited to a birthday party by someone that I considered an adult. I mean, they might have been 12. I don't know. But I felt incredible joy at this party because I was so excited about being invited that I wanted to do whatever I could to help. And at the end of the party, I went around in my little 4-year-old self and picked up all the dirty plates off the tables and put them in the trash and wiped down tables. And I don't even know how I knew to do that, but I did it. And I felt such satisfaction personally. And the girl whose party it was, her mom, they were so appreciative and thanked me for making a difference. And it was amazing. And that was at 4, and I still have that very clear memory today. So why is that? I know you have the same kinds of memories. We just have to take the time to go back and look. There were many instances in my life where I felt that same joy, not just that 4-year-old child having that moment. One of them, fast forwarding ahead, was when I worked in a medical office and a cardiac lab for a period of time, where patients would come in for thallium. That's when they used thallium. I think they use something else now, but thallium stress testing for their hearts. And a lot of these older patients would be filled with fear. And after working there for some time, there would be these repeat patients that would come back in and they would ask for me. And they would tell me that they felt much more peaceful in my presence. That was powerful for me. I felt like who I was becoming was somehow helping others and giving back, and it brought me great joy. Then, at the direction of a spiritual coach that I had for a period of time, it was requested of me to make a list of every event in my life where I experienced loss, where this loss I perceived as causing trauma or pain or discomfort of some sort. Man, I think his eyes just opened wide and his mouth opened pretty large when he saw the list because there were a lot of things on this list. But when I looked at the events of my life, now in keeping in mind the topic of this sacred contract subject and choosing the experiences of our lives, let me tell you, I certainly didn't think that I would choose to be born into an alcoholic, sexually abusive environment, or later choose to become an alcoholic. But guess what? Today, because of my experience, which eventually led to doing my own self-examination and healing, I'm able to help other alcoholics. I'm able to help others who have dealt with and experienced sexual abuse with compassion and empathy. I find amazing joy in those moments of being able to help others and see them just literally changing before my eyes because they're beginning to see with new lenses too. But how would I have gotten to do any of that or still get to do it today if it were not for the experiences that I have endured, that I have gotten to the other side of? And of course, once you get to the other side of it, it's not like aha moment. It all makes sense now. It takes time, and we're able to see. I would not have chosen to be born gay in 1961, where it was not something that you even talked about. I hated being different. I hated feeling different. A kid just wants to fit in, right? And I didn't. And it wasn't like I was going around at that point saying anything. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I was different. I wouldn't have chosen to be bullied or excluded or the last one picked every time for teams in gym. I wouldn't have wanted to pretend to be someone else for decades. But guess what? Today, I'm able to help others with compassion and empathy to navigate their own healing in this regard, to help them see their amazing worth, to remember that they are unconditionally loved, perfect, just as they are. I would not have chosen to spend decades steeped in religion and adopting others' beliefs about God and judgment, thinking that what I felt inside could not possibly be real and that what everyone else was telling me must be true. So adopting their ideas and their understanding. And then along with that, the judgment and shame, including being taught that and believing that my sexuality was my ticket to hell. But I see the value today with new lenses in all of those experiences. And I can say that I am grateful for them. As a result, I can't tell you how many people, and I know that this is just divine synchronicity, but how many people have come across my path who have dealt with religious trauma. And I have had the privilege of helping them get free from their own mental prisons and know that they have never been separated from their Creator and have always been unconditionally loved. I wouldn't have chosen to cause my wife and children suffering when I decided that I could no longer live inauthentically and came out of the closet at 39 years old. It was an incredibly dark time. It led to my alcoholism and ultimately to my sobriety, step work, self-evaluation. And yet again, where I am today in a position to help others going through identical situations, one that's absolutely identical. And I believe that we chose to be on this planet and chose our families of origin and experiences. And if I believe that, then I also believe that the experiences of my former wife and kids whether they see it or not, that they had a part in choosing that journey to help them remember their purpose and their contract. When we are reawakened to our purpose, our mission, when we begin to remember, when those clouds or that sludge, as I called it earlier, begins to move out of the way, we see how our experiences fit together like the pieces of a puzzle. And when we do, there's no feeling of any judgment or blame of ourselves or anyone else. I don't blame or judge anyone for the roles they played in this quote unquote theater of life to bring me the experiences I needed. I chose to be who I am today. And I know there's plenty of more experiences to come. I am not done. I have found that there is really a deep sense today of gratitude and a desire to serve the world with love and perhaps, just perhaps, help others along the way to remember who they are and why they're here. When we arrived on this planet as little bundles of joy, again, this is just my personal belief. I believe that we were well aware of our source, where we came from, the love that we came from, why babies are so happy, little kids so happy, nothing phases them. And there's a verse in the Bible that says to become as little children. We can see through those lenses today. I've also heard that it's perhaps, and again, this is just a perhaps, why babies sleep so much. They went from an extremely high energy, infinite, ethereal entity where there's no time or space, and then find yourself in the confines of this tiny little limiting body. I guess that would be exhausting. It's an interesting thought anyway. But shortly after arriving, it seems that we fall asleep. We fall asleep to why we're here. We fall asleep to where we came from. We fall asleep to our sacred contract, the agreement that we chose, that we made to serve out our purpose on this planet. And partly that's because of all the conditioning that we're flooded with that seems to erase that memory. I just think there's more to it. And I'll share with you why I do. If we came here to this planet knowing, remembering it all, knowing what we chose to learn on this trip, knowing the experiences we would have, we may have refrained from making the choices that would result in those experiences. Experiences vital for the evolution of our spiritual consciousness and vital for the actualization of our full potential on this planet. For example, if I had known when I came to the planet and had this experience, and I had known that when I fell in love for the first time in my life in my 40s and married, that my husband would be dead 8 years later, I may not have made the decision to fall in love. I may not have made the decision to pour my heart into that relationship, knowing what was ahead. And yet that experience was one of the biggest catalysts to my growth. I see how it has helped me today to truly love without attachment, without thinking that something or someone outside myself is needed for or the source of my happiness or completion. That is a powerful lesson, and it's one that I needed to learn, and I would not have learned it if it weren't for the experiences of my life that, again, I believe that I chose so that I could become the person I was meant to become, that I could serve the world the way that it was meant to be served through me. We all come here with a purpose, unique purposes to give back and to make a difference. I found that love within. It's within me, as it is within you. It's never gone anywhere. It's just gotten covered up a little bit. And now wherever I go, it goes. So I'd encourage you to look back at the events of your life in this light and see what you find. You know, even the seemingly small day-to-day events can be revealing. And I just had this little example I want to share with you that came to mind. So say that you are late for an appointment and you are running behind, you pull into the parking lot of this important appointment. You see one parking space open and you go and you head for it. Now the driver of another car makes eye contact with you and steps on the gas and takes your space. Now you're going to be super late for that appointment. What would you be feeling? Perhaps you're angry. I know I probably would be. But maybe that goes on to trigger some thoughts such as, people always take advantage of me. Why do people think that it's okay to treat me like this? See, those are all things that aren't just happening in that moment. That is the sludge that's been collected along the way. Somewhere in your life, some experience has taken place, and you've looked at it through the lens of life happening to you rather than for you, and it's gotten collected inside you. And it's become that lens through which you see the world. And that's just a small example of it. And then say, after that happens to you in that parking lot, you finally make it to your appointment, not happy at all. And then you get home at the end of the day and say you're looking for the power cord for your phone that needs to be charged desperately, and it's not where it typically is. And you're looking all over the house, and you're still feeling that adrenaline from your day, and you find that power cord plugged into your son's bedroom outlet, and he's using it for something. And it triggers all those same thoughts. People taking advantage of you. Why do people think it's okay to treat you that way? And you have an absolute blowout over this power cord. Those things have happened to me often. But when we take a step back and we take a breath and we can look at the root, and if we do look at the history of our lives and look at the experiences of our lives, I assure you, you will begin to see where those things originated. And we can I call them prisoners of war that we hold in our heads, but we can let those prisoners of war free. Because we're just the warden of that jail cell. And one by one, we can let them go. And that sludge clears, and we can get back to seeing what has always been at our source, that divine love. And we can get back to reconnecting with that purpose, that mission, that contract that's always been there. And like I said earlier, where we can get back on that beam, where there is that joy and that contentment. Because that joy arises when we're doing what we're called to do, when we're in that place of following that mission. That is where the greatest joy in life, at least for me, is found. So all of this as just food for thought and contemplation. And I'd love to hear from you, no matter what you have to say. I would love to hear from you and get your take on all of it. So you can drop me a note in the comments section under this podcast here on my Facebook page at The Awakened Collective, or you can send an email to Rick Gregory. You can also find, if Danny would put up my webpage, you can also find all my social media links, coaching offerings, a couple of my publications, as well as writings of other authors. I don't have Caroline's book on there yet, but I will get that on there.
Real quick, the file for your splash screen is corrupted, so we'll put that in the comments.
Okay, thank you. That's fine. Another experience. That's okay. A couple of my publications, as well as writings of many other authors that have profoundly guided me along my personal spiritual journey. And again, I will post a link to Caroline May's book in the comments below. I highly recommend it. It's actually a workbook, so this will help you if you do the examples in here and take the time to do some writing. We all have very busy lives, but they're not going to get less busy. Um, but we can still have busy lives and experience great joy if we take some time out and do some of this personal work. I'll also post a link to the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. But I do highly recommend Caroline's book. I want to thank Audio Alchemy Productions and Daniel Anderson for the gift that they are in helping so many people provide messages of love and hope to the world. And I want to say that if you are feeling drawn, maybe some of what we talked about today just shined a light on something for you. But have perhaps it's a passion of yours, part of your contract that you have set aside that's gotten buried under the sludge that's now beginning to reappear. Reach out to Audio Alchemy Productions and start your own podcast, even if you don't live in the area. I have a dear friend, Betsy Martell, a shout out to you, who lives in, where does she live? Wisconsin. And she has a podcast, All In Empowerment. And I was a guest on that actually last week. So wherever you're at, Daniel helped her get started, and I know he can help you. You can reach him at 601-672-6591 or at audioalchemyproductions.com. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be with me. I hope that you got something out of this message. Would love to hear from you. Until next time, my friends, love and kindness, always.